Today, I'm up over $130,000 trading using this exact trade you see in front of you across all my prop accounts and my live accounts. A beautiful day where we stood patient and got rewarded. There was 2 days this week so far where I stood patient for hours on end and ended up not taking a trade. And today and Tuesday were 2 days where we stood patient, took a trade, and got rewarded. Up over a 5.5 R on the week. Still holding this trade on my personal as we speak. Today, we'll be talking about my bias, my look, the entry model, and the execution aspect. So, a pretty awesome day today. If you go up here, you guys can kind of see the results on the look. Essentially, what we were looking at for this trade was a 5-minute bearish BPR violation. So we were looking for price to come up on these bearish gaps right here and violate them. But before we get into that trade, let's get into my bias. Well, what was my bias for the morning? What was I thinking? Why did I think that we could trade higher? Well, if you look at higher time frame narratives on ES and NQ, starting off with the hourly, what we can see is that we had seen specifically NQ fulfill its 4-hour bullish BPR. So we had a 4-hour bullish BPR, which instead of violating as we did through our entry model on the 5-minute time frame, we end up holding. We do wick a bit under, but the 4-hour never closes, and we see price come back up, and we see price hold that 4-hour gap. On top of that, what was more significant was on ES, we swapped our previous day low. So today is Thursday, yesterday was Wednesday, and Wednesday's low was around here at 75.15. And what we end up doing through Thursday is sweeping that low. On top of that, we end up also tapping this new week opening gap, which if you don't know, it's your Friday stock market close, futures market close, and your Sunday night open. That gap created over the weekend leaves a lot of inefficiencies, a big imbalance in the market. We see price come down, and we see price fill that void by tapping deeper into this gap. We then see price overnight, which is important here. Not only do we put a significant low in, we also see price come back up, and we see price see a significant push back up into range. You see overnight price for the most part after creating that low in that new week opening gap, after seeing that sweep in PDL, we end up seeing price come back up, and we see price slowly trade higher. What we then see off the open through NQ specifically is we see a push into our opening range move, which if you guys don't know, that's something I use. It's where we typically have our New York Open trade into the first area of liquidity, typically an overnight session high or low, and the reaction off that dictates and confirms the narrative through higher time frames. So my narrative being bullish, as I've shown through higher time frame just now, what I'm looking for this opening range move to do in order for me to be risk on immediately after the open or a little bit after the open is I need to see a bullish opening range move. However, we do not end up getting that here. We end up seeing price come up here, sweep these on highs, our first area of liquidity where we met the high. Then we had seen price come back down, and we see price follow through lower. ES off the open was actually a bit more bearish. It's funny because we took the long on ES, but ES was actually a bit more bearish off the open as it did not cause an opening range move. We ended up seeing ES more so just come right back down. NQ pumped first and then came down. But, however, what we see a little bit later on is we see price essentially flip over and ES look a bit better for the upside trade. Now, Lanto, what were you looking at here for specifically? At this point in time, I was not looking to be risk on because although my higher time frame bias was pointing bullish, the opening range move did not confirm upside interest yet. So what I was looking for price to do, honestly, is essentially show me that it wanted to seek upside interest. So the first things I had marked out was a 15-minute fair value gap, which was large in displacement. What I wanted to see price do was come down and retrace into that gap, tap it, and essentially trade higher. One of the first ideas that I had in mind was a 15-minute gap tap, and then we see price come back up. We see price top this 15-minute gap, then we see price come back up, and we see price invert this 1-minute bearish fair value gap. That's what I wanted to see as a potential entry in the market. However, we did not offer that. We end up inverting this 15-minute gap, but looking at ES, which is what caused me to flip to ES, ES ends up filling the gap. We never invert the gap on ES. We simply fill, slightly wick under, and then come right back up. So for me, recognizing that, oh, hold up, NQ inverted its 15-minute gap. However, ES did not. So for me, looking at that and then looking at the structure that we had developed off low and then the type of displacement we got back up, I felt it was very fair to look at interest on ES for potential upside if we offered. So far, what we've identified is our higher time frame outlook was bullish through the lows that we put in. Overnight price was bullish, and we see higher time frames essentially come back up into range, telling you that price is also interested. Not only did we put in a good low, but price is interested in coming back up and trading higher. And then we see price on this ES 15-minute imbalance, rebalance, fill, come back up. And so for me at this point in time, interest sparked onto ES. On top of that, what's important here, which I want to go over, is you don't see me blindly enter a 15-minute gap fill. Although my higher time frame bias is bullish and we're starting to see price turn around here, I'm not blatantly logging a 15-minute gap. What we also have here on top of this kind of double confluence is we have a 15-minute gap fill and we have a 5-minute bearish BPR, which if you guys don't know what it is, it's a balanced price range. It's where you have a fair value gap and a inversion fair value gap in one zone. Typically on the reviews you guys see me trade or talk about, I usually have like a one type of gap entry. It's either an inversion fair value gap entry, where we look for, an invert, or we look for a fair value gap retest. For this, we looked for essentially a violation of this bearish BPR, the fair value gap and the inversion fair value gap. So not only do we have this 15-minute gap fill here, but we also have two gaps where we're looking for price to mitigate. So a lot of bullish confluence, a lot of bullish price needs to occur here in order for me to really long. We come up here and without much hesitation, little to no hesitation, we see price come up and we see price violate this BPR where you see a beautiful move back up. Lento, what was your stop placement? My stop placement on this trade was this wick low, just below this relative low. You could have also done the relative low. That works as well. We end up coming up here, and the confirmation sequence on this trade ends up being precisely at 9:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You see me mention it here at 9:50, or excuse me, did I read that wrong? At 9:50, yeah, there we go. At 9:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time was when we closed, and right after we closed and gave confirmation, you see me alerted at 9:53, beautifully with chat. We end up taking the trade. I said break even at London highs. So London highs here was our break even in mind. Our take profit 1 could have been London highs. I said, though, you could hold for TP2, which would be Asia highs. That's what I held for personally. We end up seeing price essentially go up here, and within 2 minutes, we see a 34-point buy sequence. Obviously, this trade is news-oriented to some extent, right? News helped propel. But honestly, if news never occurred here, I truly believe, right, conviction would have panned out. Would we have seen all-time highs? Sure, maybe not. But I think Asia highs was a very high area of conviction, especially with our bias, with identifying price, and with our entry model precisely. So a very good trade on the day, 1-0 mindset as we have in the room, and you end up seeing a beautiful sequence where I end up capping my TPT, make over $50,000 on there alone, and then you also end up seeing me show my calendar on Lucid, which in total I've made around $130,000 trading today across all my props, which would be TPT, it would be Top Step, it would be Lucid, and it would be Tradeify, and on top of that I have my 2 personal live accounts, which I trade as well. So a great day overall, and we catch a beautiful trade. We're still holding as we're talking about this right now, but a beautiful day overall, where we had a very good trade. Again, the important thing I want you guys to recognize here on top of that, 2 things. 1, how patient we were. Just because we had a bullish bias, we did not FOMO into a trade. We waited for a good, precise entry in the market. Opening range move typically gives you good timing in the market. If you have like a narrative via higher time frame and the opening range move confirms direction, you can more so look to trade it then. We did not end up doing that here. However, we had a 15-minute gap rebalance, and we had the BPR violation. We had such a bullish, beautiful confluence here, and then we ended up taking risk and putting risk on. I felt a good invalidation point was around this relative low. Had we seen price, come up here and then come back down under this relative low, it's fair to assume that price would trade lower, at least into overnight lows. So a good stop point. We end up seeing price go here in a beautiful trade, like I said, overall, as we consistently have been creating new highs, back to all-time highs, and our next TP level right now is $7,600. Or 7,600 on ES specifically. So that's pretty much that. A beautiful day. With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys like this review. We're back on live stream tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to watch a video on the opening range move precisely, literally click on my YouTube channel and scroll down a bit, and you'll literally see that video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.